My name is John Jones. I'm chairman of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the notice and public posting provisions of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act. This meeting is an in-person meeting open to the public for observation and is also being live streamed and recorded for remote viewing. The time is 10:05 a.m. and I'm calling the April 7th, 2026 regular meeting of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to order. Charity, please call the roll.
Mr. Will Berry.
Here.
Mr. Todd Cohn.
Here.
Mr. David Madigan.
Here.
Mr. John Titsworth.
Here.
Ms. Dana Weber.
Here.
Mr. John Jones.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. First thing I'd like to do is recognize two guests that we have. I want to recognize former Secretary of Transportation for the state of Oklahoma, Mr. Mike Patterson, and thank you, Mike, and our current Secretary of Transportation, Mr. Tim Gatz. Thank you for joining us today. We have some awards this morning, and the first one is to be presented by Ms. Kyla Lewis of United Way of Central Oklahoma. Good morning.
So first, I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to all of you all for the work that you all contributed to the 2025 SEC, the State Charitable Campaign, and also to share some statistics with you all. Who here knows how much you raised in 2024? Raise of hands. Well, I'll say you all raised over $3,400 for the campaign for our community, for our neighbors. And in 2025, you all said, we're going to blow it out of the water this year, and you all raised over $8,600 for our community. So just give you all a round of applause real quick. So, I know. And you all did so much for our community, not just through the money that you supported, but also through volunteering, through educating yourselves about these charities, through all this fun special events that you all contributed to. Thank you so much for all that you do for our community. And especially 3 individuals in particular, they already know who they are, but if you are Melissa Atkinson, Tracy Ross, and then one more, we have an award for y'all. So go ahead and come up to the front, and we also have Kelly Ford. They coordinated the campaign along with a huge committee to make sure that you all had the best possible experience. And so again, I just want to give them a big shout out because they actually won out of all state agencies the 2025 Outstanding Employee Campaign Coordinator of the Year Award, which is a really big deal. So can give them a round of applause. I know y'all were wondering about the cookies and the balloons, so there it is. Congrats, guys. Oh, sure. And I'll say one more thing, and then I'll leave y'all to it. We now have, as of like last week, our 2026 campaign theme, which I think is really on point because it is Route 66. On the calendar. It's perfect. So again, thank you all for what you do for our community, regardless if they're the SCC or otherwise. Thank you for what you do. And also, I'm really looking forward to working with you all again this year. Thank you.
Our next award is to be presented by Ms. Joni Seymour. Good morning, Joni.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, Secretary Gatz, Director Kelly, and members of the authority. At the end of March, the independent external auditors, Forvis, completed their audit of the OTA's financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2025. Forvis conducted their required communication to those charged with governance, the OTA's audit committee, and issued their unqualified opinions. These opinions are included in the OTA's annual comprehensive financial report, the ACFR, which will be distributed by the end of April to meet trust-required deadlines. As is our practice, each year the OTA submits the completed ACFR to GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association for the United States and Canada. This submission is for their review in GFOA's program for the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. A Certificate of Achievement is awarded for reports that are easily readable, efficiently organized, satisfy generally accepted accounting principles, and meet applicable legal requirements. I'm happy to report that for the 35th consecutive year, the OTA has been awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the December 31st, 2024 ACFR. This is the highest form of recognition for governmental accounting and financial reporting. The GFOA states in its press release regarding this award that the report was judged by an impartial panel to meet the high standards of the program, which includes demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate its financial story and motivate users to read the report. We are extremely fortunate at the OTA to have a team of dedicated professionals who make the annual publication of the ACFR possible. The caliber of these professionals enables the OTA to repeatedly meet the tremendously high standards of this financial reporting program. This year, in addition to the typical time and energy dedicated to the annual audit and preparation of this financial report, the comptroller team also implemented a new accounting system. The success of all these endeavors would not be possible without the leadership and dedication of our comptroller, Micah Gardner, her assistant comptrollers, Bridget Patterson and Mitzi Gardner, and of course, our Chief Financial Officer, Julie Porter. I would like to ask these ladies to join us to receive recognition for this outstanding achievement.
Our next award is Keep America Beautiful Award to be presented by Evelyn Schaefer and LaDann Nelson.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the Authority, Director E. Kelly, Secretary Gatz. Nice to see you up there. Today, we have the honor to accept an award from Keep America Beautiful through our efforts with Keep Oklahoma Beautiful. Before we accept this award, we want to provide a Great American Cleanup update. For the month of March, OTA maintenance crews collected over 2,800 bags of trash, disposed over 1,100 cubic yards of debris, and collected over 1,000 tires, and that's only for the month of March. OTA headquarters also had its yearly cleanup where we had over 20 volunteers that showed up on their Saturday to clean up a location within Oklahoma City. We left that location better than it was by collecting over 45 bags of trash, and that 45 bags of trash was collected in under 2 hours, so it was a great achievement done. We were able to do this cleanup through our partnership with Keep Oklahoma Beautiful and are recognized today by Keep America Beautiful. Chairman Jones, I would like to bring up KOB's Executive Director, Evelyn Schaefer, to the podium. She will present the authority with our award with our partnership, through her partnership and affiliation with Keep America Beautiful.
Joe, you gotta move over. There we go.
Tilt your work forward a little bit though. There you go. Go ahead and smile. Two more.
Thank you. Our next award will be presented by Trent January. Morning, Trent.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, authority members, Secretary Gatz. April kicks off the annual spring campaign for Work Zone Safety week and month. This is going to highlight and bring awareness to the men and women that are out there that work for ODOT and OTA, behind the cone, the flag, bring awareness to our work zones that we have out there across the state with our contractors, family that are also out there with us, or the consultant inspectors that are out there with us, just really highlighting and bringing awareness, and April really kicks that off. And as part of that, Governor Kevin Stitt has issued a proclamation recognizing April 20th through the 24th as Oklahoma Work Zone Awareness Week. Whereas the state of Oklahoma is committed to maintaining a safe and reliable transportation infrastructure system that supports travel, commerce, and economic growth across our communities. And whereas the construction and maintenance of Oklahoma's highways, interstates, and turnpikes often take place while traffic is still moving, requiring motorists and highway workers to safely share the road. And whereas work zones may be temporary or unexpected during routine maintenance, emergency repairs, or crash response, placing transportation workers and first responders in close proximity to traffic. And whereas throughout its history, 74 Oklahoma Department of Transportation and Oklahoma Turnpike Authority employees have lost their lives in the line of duty, a solemn reminder of the risk faced by those who work to maintain our roads. And whereas hundreds of crashes occur each year in Oklahoma work zones, often caused by speeding, inattentive driving, or following too closely, placing both motorists and workers at risk of serious injury or loss of life. And whereas increasing public awareness of work zone safety and encouraging drivers to slow down, remain alert, avoid distractions, and obey traffic laws can help protect Oklahoma workers, motorists, and their families. Now therefore, I, Governor J. Kevin Stitt, do hereby proclaim April 20th through the 24th, 2026 as Oklahoma Work Zone Awareness Week in the state of Oklahoma. I think we're going to take a picture. part of Work Zone Awareness Month, OTA and ODOT will highlight work zone safety through a work zone safety awareness campaign, Safe Actions, Save Lives. And as part of the campaign, we will be posting PSAs on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, messages throughout the month, throughout the week, talking about work zones, putting down your distractions. But one of those PSAs that we're going to share, or we're going to show you here, was done by the ODOT Chief Engineer, TJ Deal.
As the Chief Engineer for the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, my daily mission revolves around ensuring our roads are safe, efficient, and reliable for the traveling public. Currently, we're facing a deadly threat in our work zones that engineering alone cannot fix: distracted driving. We maintain over 30,000 miles of roadways and bridges across Oklahoma, whether it's repairing pavement, installing guardrail, building a bridge, or picking up litter. Our crews are working alongside live traffic in order to maintain the highway system we all depend on. In Oklahoma's history, ODOT and OTA have lost more employees in the line of duty than any other state agency except the military. In only 5 seconds, the time it takes to read a short text message, a car moving at 55 miles per hour can cover the entire length of a football field. That time can mean the difference between a safe drive home or a life-changing crash. We design work zones carefully. We install warning signs, barriers, lights. We use technology to protect both the drivers and the workers. But none of it can prevent the moment a driver looks away instead of ahead. Distracted driving just isn't texting. It's eating lunch behind the wheel. It's reaching for something in the passenger seat or the floorboard. It's scrolling through an app while traveling in a work zone. The most advanced engineering in the world cannot protect someone who isn't paying attention. So when you see the orange signs and cones, please slow down. Put the phone away. Stay alert. Always remember to buckle your seatbelt and drive like lives depend on it, because they do.
That's a really powerful message that we're going to spread out there to everybody, because it's just a reminder of the daily sacrifice and the dangers that our men and women, again, our contractors and everybody we work with out there that are working on the roads. That's just going to be a good message, and we'll continue to do things like that with even some of our maintenance workers, where they can spread the message and how it feels to be back out there on the road next to live traffic. There are other events in April that we're going to raise awareness and encourage safer driving in work zones. April 20th is the Safe Oklahoma Summit, where traffic and roadway, where we will come together with ODOT, OTA, emergency response services, local police, contractors, where they will talk about traffic and safety roadway innovations, work zone safety and best practices, and emergency response and post-crash care. April 20th through the 21st, the Devon Tower will glow orange in support of work zone awareness. April 22nd, there will be landmarks across the state that will light up orange. And on April 30th, a moment of silence at ODOT Central Office to remember fallen workers. Also in June, we will be partnering with IBTTA in the annual Global Road Safety Week and with the Be Safe Together campaign with the slogan, "Put your mind in drive." And so throughout April and June, we're going to be doing this message. We bring this message everywhere we go. I was just in 8 Air last night and brought the same message of put your phone down, put the distractions away, put on your seatbelt when you're coming through our work zones. And then finally, the last thing I'd like to highlight is OTA and ODOT partner with Tom Robbins in the Work Zone Safe, year-round interacting with teenagers across the state to put a face and a name with the men and women behind the flag, cone, and barrels. So our men and women work with Work Zone Safe, and they go out there and talk with teenagers about work zones, face-to-face. It's an interaction with these teenagers. And Chairman Jones, I would like to ask that Tom Robbins come up and talk about that a little bit.
So I'm here today to talk about two things, Wisconsin and a pediatrician, which might seem a little bit odd. But I tell you about Wisconsin because about 3-4 years ago, Mr. Patterson, Mr. Gatz, Ryan Taylor, and others, we all came together and we said enough is enough. Pamphlets and pens and plastic bags don't save lives. These teens need to be told not just to comply, but they need to have their work zone safe why. And that why is that there's a face and family behind every flag, cone, and flashing light. And that became the standard, which we built and modernized a program around for teen driver work zone education. And using a model with ODOT, OTA, and our contractors together. In doing so, Oklahoma became the first state in the nation to require all new teen drivers to complete work zone and move over safety in order to get their driver's license. Part of that is our hands-on. I think there's a slide here that shows that. Where we go out and we talk to teens, and we are and represent to them the faces behind the flag, cone, and flashing lights. You can see this happened just last week in an ODOT OTA effort together at the state FCCLA convention. These kids are awesome. They're leadership minded, they're responsible, they have empathy, and they got to go walk through our work zone, thousands of them. And as you can see, literally kneeling behind the cone, talking to them one-on-one with these thousands of kids, dozens of conversations. And as they came to us, they said, yeah, I took that program. Well, what'd you learn? I got to put my phone down. Why? Because there's a family that those guys want to come home to. That's what we're driving home. Now, why Wisconsin? This morning at the state FCCLA convention in Wisconsin, there's a team of WSDOT employees and their contractors who are at the state convention having these conversations. They got that idea and are basing that model on Oklahoma because we've trained them how to do so. We did that in Nevada, in Kansas, and Missouri, and all throughout the country. And we'll be at the national FCCLA convention where thousands of students will walk through a work zone for the first time, all because this group, ODOT, OTA, your leadership and your support decided that enough is enough. In fact, in 2026, over 250,000, let me say that again, over 250,000 new teen drivers across the country will complete Work Zone Safe online and understand and learn that there's a face and family behind every flag, cone, and flashing light. Our organization, which started here in Oklahoma just last month, gave out we crossed our threshold of giving out $50,000 in scholarships because we award $500 scholarships to recognize and reward teen champions across the country. Now that pediatrician I was talking to, every year we come and we give out a Work Zone Safe Champion Award. And this goes to a lot of times to teens who are championing work zone safety in their schools. It goes to safety advocates who are coming alongside of us. We have many partners who support us, or the contractors who helped fund and sponsor our scholarships, or it's gone to ODOT or OTA employees. This year it went to somebody different. We presented at the ODOT commission meeting yesterday. That's Edmond pediatrician, family doctor, Kristen Lewis. The reason why she was selected is I know who she is, but she has no idea what I did professionally. My kids have been going since they were little babies in diapers to her. Well, now I got 3 teens, 2 of them that are driving. And when she sat down with my oldest teen at a well child checkup, she talked about some good things, which as a dad, I'm very grateful for, about, vaping, drinking, being healthy and all those things. But then she paused and she said, all right, you're in the car, you're driving. When you drive, everybody got their seatbelt on? Had a conversation with them right there about the importance of having a seatbelt. And then what totally blew me away, she goes, all right, in the car, you make sure to always have your phone put away, right? Do you ever drive distracted? Incredible. Those conversations, as we know, sometimes fall flat from parents. As my kids say, Dad, you're an unk, you're not cool, as they use their vocabulary. It lands a little bit flat. But when it comes from somebody that they know and trust, who's literally seen them since they were in diapers and gave them shots and helped them when they didn't feel well, feel better, and we have pediatricians like that who are willing to have a conversation to prevent crashes, to prevent injuries and fatalities. So when I called her up, I said, Dr. Lewis, do you know what I do for a living? She goes, no. I go, do you have that conversation with all your teens? Yeah. I want to spark a conversation with the parents and talk about these important issues. We need to hold out champions, not just those who wear orange ribbons and stand around memorials where we talk about and rightfully remember those who are fallen. But we need those in the community that call this what it is, a public health crisis, that understand the severity of the challenge that we have when people drive digitally drunk. And we need them to know that we're all in this together, to have eyes up, phone down, buckle up, and slow down. And for this reason is why we presented our 2026 Work Zone Safe Champion Award to Dr. Kristen Lewis. So we have a press release that went out with some quotes from the Director E. Kelly and others and Director Gatz. But just wanted to give you that update, that Oklahoma makes a difference. When people gather and they don't say, no, we can't, but yes, we can, lives get saved. So from Wisconsin to a pediatrician to thousands of teen drivers in Oklahoma, we look at safe actions that are saving lives this National Work Zone Safe Awareness Week. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Our next item of business, every board member has been provided, a copy of our minutes from our meeting of March 3rd, 2026. I assume you've reviewed those, and I ask for a motion of approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Will. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended, and the minutes for March 3rd have been approved. Our other items of business will begin with the finance items presented by our Secretary Treasurer, Mr. Todd Cohn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item is item 1376. Ms. Bolden?
Good morning. Chairman Jones, member of the authority, Director E. Kelly, Secretary Gatz. It's been 2 years that I've been waiting to present this item for you today. If I may, I'd like to preface it with an interoperability update. I think I have a slide. Yes. A short recap of our interoperability journey. OTA joined the Central U.S. Interoperability Hub in 2016, bringing 7 groups together, forming the first interoperability hub in the nation. The Central and Southeast Hub connected in 2023, the first hub-to-hub interoperability connection in the country. Since then, we've been working with our partners to the west and the east to extend national interoperability further. The Western Hub, which is located in California, is making strides with their privacy laws. Things are looking favorable for legislative changes in the next year. On the northeast side of the country, the E-ZIOP hub development started over a year ago. I am happy to report testing with the Central and Northeast started yesterday. We are targeting a go live this summer with the phased run group. Next slide, please. Thank you. Where am I? Next one, and then dark, that's the dark purple that you will, oh, it's not purple. It's the darker bluish purple that you see on the east side over there. It looks completely different in teams. With the remaining groups that you see that are in the lighter-ish bluish purple on the northeast side, we'll be coming into a phased implementation later. Thank you to our Central and Northeast partners for their hard work, and special thanks to the OTA IT IOP team for continuing to be at the forefront of championing national interoperability. With that, I ask for consideration and approval of the authority to authorize the director to negotiate and execute an agreement regarding the interoperability of toll systems on the behalf of OTA as a member of the Central U.S. Interoperability Group with the E-ZIOP entities. Staff have reviewed the item and recommend for approval.
Any questions? This is great.
Amazing.
Finally.
A
Mr.
really
Chairman?
long time coming.
Yeah, excellent.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for adoption of item 1376 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1376. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1376 has been approved.
Mr. Chairman, my next item is item 1377. Mr. Lovelholtz.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the authority. I have 2 items for consideration. First item is 1377, submitted for consideration and approval of the authority, is a request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute the purchase of firewall upgrades for an amount not to exceed $939,383. This purchase will replace 4 firewalls that are nearing end of life. Staff has reviewed the above item and recommends for approval.
Any questions? If there are no questions, Mr. Chairman, I'd move for adoption of item 1377 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1377. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1377 has been approved.
And I believe you have 1378 also.
Item 1378 is submitted for consideration and approval of the authority, is a request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute the purchase of additional server host infrastructure for an amount not to exceed
$1,500,000. This new host infrastructure will provide scalability to support data growth. Staff has reviewed the above item and recommends for approval.
Any questions? Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, I'd move for approval of item 1378 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item number 1378. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1378 has been approved.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is item 1379, presented by Jordan Purdue.
Good morning. Submitted for the consideration and approval of the authority is a request that the director of the authority be authorized to negotiate and execute a contract for commercial banking services with Bank of Oklahoma. Last month, an RFP was distributed requesting a proposal to provide trustee and commercial banking services. Since every respondent had to bid on both services, one respondent was unable to provide the required trustee services and was disqualified. The other three respondents were Bank First, UMB Bank, and Bank of Oklahoma. Staff conducted interviews of all these respondents on Thursday, March 26th, and then the selection committee scored responses on financial strength and institution experience in providing required services to similar organizations, experience of bank personnel to be assigned, responsiveness to the request for proposals, and pricing and fee structure. Based on the consideration of the selection committee, the selected bank remains Bank of Oklahoma. Some of the deciding elements included having a local Oklahoma lockbox processing center, established and experienced trustee staff already in place, automated trustee processing services, and a 10% reduction by Bank of Oklahoma to its current commercial banking fees over the next 3 years. Overall, the selection committee felt that Bank of Oklahoma should continue to provide the trustee and commercial banking services that the OTA requires. And because the trustee bank services are effectively set by the authority's trust indenture, this agenda item only addresses the commercial banking services. Requesting the director be authorized to negotiate the contract for commercial banking services with BOK. Staff will be meeting with the Bank of Oklahoma to establish expectations for the continuation of this relationship. Bank of Oklahoma also has some additional services that staff will be looking forward to putting in place over the next several months, as well as continued enhancements expected from the reporting side. Staff has reviewed this item and recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
How many years is this contract going to be for?
This will continue in place for as long as we keep it in place. There's no real set timeline until we feel like we need to issue another RFP or reevaluate those services.
And that's my next question is, do you know when we're going to go back out and reevaluate this?
This is not something that needs to necessarily be RFP'd on a 2-3 year basis. These services are very long-term looking, especially on the trust side. So I think we're having those internal discussions now about kind of formalizing this process going forward.
Sounds like you all did a very thorough scrub on this. And
Yeah, it was a very deep dive. We appreciate all the respondents going through the responses. They were, very diligent in putting those together in their presentations. We just felt that BOK was kind of just better suited to what the authority's needs are going forward. And, it's a very prudent on OTA staff to reevaluate these from time to time as well. So.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Any other questions or comments? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for adoption of item 1379 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1379. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1379 has been approved.
Mr. Chairman, my final item is item 1380. Micah Gardner. Good morning.
Good morning. Item number 1380 is the payment register prepared by the Comptroller Division. This register contains all payments made by the OTA for the month of February 2026. Staff has reviewed this item and it is recommended for approval.
Any questions or comments? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1380 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1380. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1380 has been approved. Next items on the agenda are the maintenance, engineering, right-of-way, and construction items to be presented by our Vice Chairman, Mr. Wilberry.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. Item number one first item is item 1381 that'll be presented by Mr. Gilbreth.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Secretary Gatz. Submitted for the consideration of the authority is a request that the following items be approved for purchase from statewide contract SW 776 and state contract AC 0002. Item number one, contractors direct traffic control for the traffic striping for various turnpikes under the statewide contract 776 for a not to exceed amount of $1.5 million. Item number two, contractor is CP Integrated Services for concrete panel replacement for various turnpikes under the state contract AC 002 for a not to exceed amount of $2 million. Maintenance staff has reviewed and recommend approval. I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Are there any questions? If not, I make a motion that we approve items 1381 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1381. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1381 has been approved.
Next couple of items will be presented by Mr. Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Secretary Gatz. Good to see everyone this morning. Engineering Division has 3 items we'd like to present for consideration here this morning. That's items 1382, 1383, and 1384. Item 1382, this is a construction contract award for one construction project. This project's MUMC 46B. This is a capital plan project. The project consists of replacement of asphalt shoulders and guardrails on the Muskogee Turnpike, aka State Highway 351, from milepost 37 to milepost 56, and this is in Muskogee County. Had 3 bidders on the project. Apex Central's our low bidder, in the amount of $6,885,885, and that was about 28.4% under the engineer's estimate. Had 1 pay item was the major contributor to the underage on the bid there, and that was our asphalt price there for S3, and that was about $1.4 million of that difference. Staff scrutinized this bid, and we recommend approval.
Are there any questions?
Now, we continue to see good bids.
Right, yeah. Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we approve items 1382 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1382. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting's ended, and item 1382 has been approved.
Mr. Butler.
Yes, sir. Item 1383. This is a contract modification for an engineering contract that is a capital plan project. This is project SP 71. This contract modifications provide compensation for additional design services not included in the original scope of the project. These services include providing design and soil percolation testing for a new septic system at the Hayburn Maintenance Facility, as well as design, peer review coordination, and survey for a safe room, wash bay, and sanitary service, sewer service line at the Kenosha Maintenance Facility. The amount due under this contract modification number 2 shall not exceed $89,305 for these services. The revised contract amount should not exceed $864,983.24. Staff's review this modification, and we recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1383 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1383. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1383 has been approved.
Mr. Butler.
1384. This is separate project agreements on the Will Rogers Turnpike for the Access Bond Program. Submitted for the consideration of the authorities a request to authorize the director to negotiate separate project agreements with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, Rogers County, City of Catoosa, City of Claremore, Mays County, and Town of Verdigris. These agreements will outline funding, design, construction, maintenance, right-of-way, and utility responsibilities for the Access Bond Program projects on the Will Rogers Turnpike. Staff's reviewed this item. We recommend approval.
Any questions? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1384 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1384. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1384 has been approved.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Next item is item 1385, which will be presented by Mrs. LaDanne Nelson.
Good morning. Submitted for the consideration of the authority is a request to authorize the director to negotiate separate project agreements with the City of Norman. These agreements will outline funding, design, construction, maintenance, right-of-way, and utility responsibilities for the Access Bond Program projects along the Toby Keith Expressway. I want to provide some context on why this item with the City of Norman is brought separately from the one that was presented and approved in December of 2025. That agenda item had all stakeholders identified along the Toby Keith Expressway that required project agreements. We did not include the City of Norman as we did not anticipate entering into any project agreements with them at that time. Moving forward, we have been working with the city regarding a joint venture project along 36th Avenue Northwest that does require a project agreement to be in place. OTA will be crossing 36th Avenue Northwest at Indian Hills with the Turnpike Main Line, and we will be adding a partial interchange at this location. The City of Norman had planned infrastructure improvements for years for 36th Avenue, so it made sense for both agencies to work together at this location for the best project possible. With this partnership, it allows for an efficient infrastructure design for drainage as well as roadway widening. It brings less cost of materials due to a higher economy of scale. It brings this heavily desired project into constructions years quicker. And lastly, it impacts the traveling public one time versus having separate projects if we were to do these separately. In March 2026, the City of Norman City Council approved of this partnership agreement for 36 Northwest Avenue. Today, we are bringing this item for your approval. Staff has reviewed this item and recommends approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you all may have at this time.
Any questions? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1385 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1385. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1385 has been approved.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Next item, or items, will be presented by Mr. Gore.
Good morning, board members. First item is 1385. This is a separate project. Make sure I'm on the right one.
1386.
That's what I was thinking. I gotta flip the page. I knew something was off there. Right. All right, how we going the right one? 1386, declare surplus property and authorize directors to sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of. Today, bring parcel 92 and 92.1. It is estimated at 0.25 acres. It is part of a joint agreement back from 1989 with ODOT, where when the JKT was being established, ODOT had already owned some property for the for this location. And when we determined that we needed to tie the JKT in with US 77, the interchange, we purchased an easement over top the property ODOT had, which includes that little bitty piece there north of, just north there, I think it's 122nd Street. So if it is deemed surplus, we will coordinate with ODOT in their disposal process, and ODOT will kind of finalize the disposal, and we'll kind of work out the funding aspect there. Since we only have an agreement, an easement to it, and ODOT has the fee, they'll take the lead as far as the disposal process. Does that answer any questions?
Are there any questions? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1386 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1386. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1386 has been approved.
Mr. Gore.
Item 1387 is on-demand right-of-way service contract modification. This contract is, modifications is for Coates Field Services. This contract is for the capital side. They mainly handle our surplus aspect. This contract mod is number 4 that we've had with them. We've started the first one in June 1st of 2021. This will get the revised contract amount to a grand total of $1,120,000. We anticipate this to run through the end of the year, and then we'll probably solicit again for get the capital side on-demand services contract.
Any questions? If not, I'll make a motion that we approve item 1387 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1387. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting's ended and item 1387 has been approved.
Mr. Gore.
Item 1388 is on-demand right-of-way service access for the Access Bond Program contract. This one is for 2 new contracts, one with Poe and Associates for not to exceed $2 million, and the second is with WSB LLC for not to exceed $2 million as well. We're having these 2 contracts come to you because we are needing additional. WSB has bought another company. They're the parent company to another company we have, and to help with contract switch over, we're just doing a new contract with the parent company and going to kind of let the other contract just phase itself out. And so we're just basically replacing one company with the other. And with Poe and Associates, it's kind of the same situation. There's been a staff change with the other company. And so we do not have a current on-demand contract for acquisitions with Poe and Associates. So we as well are entering a contract for the acquisition aspect. With that, answer questions.
Any questions? If not, I'll make a motion that we approve items 1388 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1388. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately.
It was approved.
Voting is ended and item 1388 has been approved.
Mr. Gore.
Item 1389 is on-demand right-of-way services contract modification for an access bond program. Today, bring on-demand contract mod number 2 for right-of-way service for Pinnacle Consultant with a not to exceed $1 million, and a on-demand contract mod number 2 as well for right-of-way services for Encompass Services for $2 million, which brings both contracts to a grand total of $3 million. With that, stand for any questions.
Let's make a comment. I'm making the assumption that in all these items we've discussed, obviously, we're making progress, and we also have much more to do, and we're going to speed that up, I assume.
Correct. We are going making sure we're going through all the processing, acquiring the properties as needed for the construction projects in a timely manner. With that, there's working throughout all the Turner, Will Rogers, East-West Connector, everywhere we have a project going, and we are picking that pace up every day. And with this, as these are on demand, we dole out those needs by task orders to each firm to assign each projects and so forth. So it varies based off workload. Some projects might have 30 parcels, some might have 4 parcels. Right. So it's variable, and we get heavy on that.
And when I say speed up, what I'm saying is progress.
Yes.
Any other questions? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1389 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1389. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting is entered, and item 1389 has been approved.
Mr. Gore.
Item 1390 is on-demand right-of-way management contract for the Access Bond Program and the Capital Program. This is for contract SP 74, contract mod number 1 for Universal Field Services for $4,900,000, which brings a total revised contract $5,640,000. So a little history to this. In about December timeframe, we went out and resolicited the on-demand program for right-of-way services oversight. We ultimately selected Universal Field Services. We were running that for a couple months to see, kind of gauge a little bit of a monthly cost expenditures, so we could able to come to the board one time and get a good valuation of what about a 12-month period would run, and that's what this is for.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1390 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1390. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1390 has been approved.
Final item is item 1391. Mr. Gore.
Yes, 1391 is to consider and adopt resolution of necessity for the condemnation of certain real property interest along the various corridors. With this resolution, I'm bringing a total of 25 parcels. Of those parcels, 5 are total takes. I want to kind of get a little bit in how we kind of get to this process, if you would mind. So when we come to resolution, we don't bring that lightly. We always try to do due diligence to get there, and it's a very lengthy process that we go through to get there. It is determined by the engineering design process as far as what the needs for a project is. They determine that here's what the design elements and here's what right-of-way we need to acquire to facilitate that construction project. Once that is determined, we send out letters of interest, letting landowners know that your property in some way is going to be impacted. At that point, we start all the survey process and write legal descriptions for that. To write legal descriptions, as you can imagine with the project, we average about 30 days to write a legal, to get them written, reviewed, and everything like that. That then goes to the appraiser to start the appraisal process. And then after the appraisal, which takes roughly 30 days, we go to a review process. So in all, by the time a person's notified to the point we send an offer to a landowner, they have been kind of working with this for about 90 days before they actually get the offer based off the appraisal. Then about, the next month or two, we are working and trying to secure the property with the landowners to come to good terms with them in agreement. If we're unable to, let me back up and say, if we do reach an agreement with them, I kind of want to continue on that process, if you don't mind, which by this point, we're roughly about 4 to 6 months since they've been notified to the point that, hey, we were reaching an agreement. Then we go through a formal closing process, which as a standard closing process, just like anybody else in the public would go through, is average about 45 days right now. Once that closing process we have it standard is 30 days as far as occupancy. So by the time we send in an NOI to a point that a person is paid and potentially vacating their house is roughly 7 to 8 months in this process. And depending on timing, as far as construction letting, utility relocations needs, things like that, we do and can grant extended occupancy. And those can range from another few months to up to 6 to 8 months, depending on the schedule and impact to that. And so to hold that schedule and to hold those aspects, utility aspect, construction aspect, all those needs, that is what drives when we get to a point that we're able to continue negotiation and have to come to the board and ask for a resolution to maintain those schedules on the schedule, maintain those schedules to keep on track with this construction. And that's saying we always are constantly negotiating and working through with landowners. There are a few even on this list that are hoping that we'll be able to get agreement here in the next few days. But since we haven't reached that quite yet, that's why they're kind of, still on the list. But as always, we never start negotiating, and we'll keep negotiations to secure these, get a reasonable and satisfying number with the landowners. So with that, I stand for any questions.
I've just got one. When you reference appraisals, just a clarification, these are independent, you go out for independent appraisals. Is it more than one or multiple?
So we have required a certified general appraisal that has to go out. It is an independent, own their own company, hiring them, anybody else could hire them. They then submit it to a second independent certified general appraisal, and they review their math, review the appraisal itself to make sure it's following USPAP standard appraisal practice. That is, so it's not a secondary, but it's a second independent appraisal reviewing it, and totally different companies. We keep them independent to make sure they're not. That's right.
Thank you.
When we're making, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tom.
When we're making offers, part of that also includes relocation costs.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. when we have the appraisal, we typically also have moving companies and go out there and they will evaluate everything from moving an implement to the new place to moving and packing up the dishes and the kitchen cabinet. We cover and cost for everything, and that included cost is in the offer and subsequently included in the negotiation aspect as well. If they feel like hey, we want to coordinate and move the shed versus you buying that shed, something like that, we will, part of that negotiation include in there.
Is that, then when we go to, if we ever have to go to condemnation, then the commissioners that are appointed, they don't take that in consideration, or do they take that into consideration?
They do take that into consideration. Typically, they will sometimes go get their own quote. We will provide the quotes that we've received from the independent companies. And I think these are moving companies that anybody else could hire and things like that. And sometimes the other side will also provide moving quotes that they received.
Thank you.
And some of these parcels are dealing with title issues as well, correct?
Correct. I think 5 of them are for title. And so until the courts determined who the rightful title owner is, we are unable to reach an agreement with them. But once the court gets that determined, then we will be able to negotiate with that court-determined landowner.
Correct. All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1391 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1391. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1391 has been approved. Moving on to the reports section of our agenda. Our first one is our Highway Patrol report. Major Jeremy Allreed.
Thank you, and good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly, and Secretary Gatz. Thank you for coming to the DPS Awards banquet last week. We really appreciated having you there. The month of February, I'm thankful to report, I'll jump ahead a little bit, that there were no reported fatalities in the month of February, so we were very happy for that. Turnpike troopers made 6,457 violator contacts, assisted 1,061 motorists, and investigated 108 motor vehicle collisions. Troopers worked 1,255 shifts, averaging 242 miles per shift, for a total of just over 303,000 miles driven. Again, we reported no fatalities. There were no criminal interdictions that were reported. Some of the information may be a little bit late coming in on that. Specific information can be found in your packet, but I would like to point out that the Aircraft Division has conducted 8 hours of training for their new pilots. We are on tap to do 3 aircraft assignments prior to the end of this month, so I think we're making some progress finally. And with that, any questions?
My comment is the best part of your report, no fatalities.
Well, there you go. Amen to that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next report is our consulting engineer report, Mr. Jimmy Sparks.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Secretary Gatz, Director E. Kelly. Concerning the trust required services, our 2026 in-service facility inspections are underway. You know, every month I kind of start out with that statement talking about the trust required services, usually talking about our inspections leading up to our annual report. And I thought that, you know, it's been a while. I thought it'd be good that if I kind of try to give a brief overview of where the consulting engineer is actually mentioned in the trust agreement. So I'll try to keep it brief. And when I give you the numbers, this is before the system trust. You have the non-system trust for the Gilcrease. Numbers are a little bit different, but the functions are essentially the same. So starting out, Section 504 of the trust says the consulting engineer will do an annual inspection and prepare an annual report containing our findings as to whether the Oklahoma Turnpike system has been maintained in good repair, working order, and condition, and our recommendations as to the proper maintenance, repair, and operations of the system, the insurance to be carried under the provisions of the trust, and the amount that should be deposited into the reserve maintenance fund, and what needs to be reinvested in the system. So basically, we're certifying the minimum reinvestment for the capital program annually. Sections 405 and 510 deal with the approval and certification of all payments from the reserve maintenance fund and construction fund, and per our contract, that includes the general fund. So We certify all the funds that come out of there. So you do have occasion where Olson is a totally separate function, doing another service for the authority separate from the trust agreement that I manage. So you do have occasion where Olson signs an Olson invoice. So, but we're approving we're just certifying that the funds are coming from the right place. Section 505 talks about review of the annual budget, which part of everything, kind of leads up to that. Recommendations for the capital plan and making sure that our assessment that the system is maintained properly. Section 707 discusses that OTA will cause the consulting engineer to repair, replace, or reconstruct turnpike assets immediately upon substantial damage. So, our overheight hits and all that is covered under that section, along with talking about 707 and 708 deal with the review and ensuring OTA maintains a practical insurance program. So we've had a lot of discussions in the past about the insurance program, the cost of the premiums, and kind of where we've gone from there. Section 409, the preparation of the consulting engineer's official statement in conjunction with new turnpike projects and bond issuances. This statement discusses the conditions of the turnpike system, prior to incurring additional bond debt, that it is maintained properly. Section 409 also discusses periodic progress reports to the trustee, and these have kind of been at the trustee's discretion of how much they want to see. When you're in a program like Access, we are meeting weekly, very detailed, following the schedule, the budget, all those things. So really work with Rachel on how often she wants to see, what's going on week to week. And then lastly, Section 713 is Todd presented an item today, the surplus right-of-way. We are part of the review process, along with maintenance, engineering, construction, IT, and a few others, that this property can truly be surplus, that we don't see the need for future use of that. So there are a few other mentions of the consulting engineer, but these are the main services that we provide to represent the bondholders' interests. So that was pretty lengthy, and good luck if you want to read those sections out. It's pretty, it's kind of difficult. But back to regular business, I guess you'd say, we checked 68 special overloads in the month of March. We had no special inspection reports in our monthly report, and as always, our project summary is in that monthly report, and happy to answer any questions.
Nope. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Our next report is our trustee report. Ms. Rachel Singleton. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director Kelly, Secretary Gatz. As bond trustee to the authority, all monthly debt service transfers were made for the semi-annual payments to the bondholders as required by the trust agreement. To our knowledge, all other requirements set forth in the trust agreement have been satisfied. Questions on my report?
Any questions? Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next report are the operating results and financial condition. Ms. Wendy Smith.
Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly, and Secretary Gatz. I'm pleased to report that my report is short this month. I think people probably appreciate that from me sometimes. So, so everything's going great. Year-to-date net total revenues through February 2026 is an increase of 4.3% compared to year-to-date last year. And although we had a mild February as compared to a more inclement February of last year, I think during President's Day week, we had a lot of snow and ice last year. So it looks a lot more impressive. It's 9.9%. Transactions over last February, but year-to-date, it's about 3%. And when you just, because January was, we had obviously inclement weather in January. And trucks continue to hold steady, which we are glad about. And additionally, year-to-date toll revenues continue to outpace budgeted projections by 10%. And we continue to maintain a conservative approach to spending. The division directors do a really good job with that. And also, we continue to steadily achieve or exceed our trust-required senior and total debt service ratios. And we do appreciate Olson and BOK. Their oversight is just so helpful to us and really good for everything that we do. So I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Thanks, Wendy.
Okay, thank you.
Our next report is the director report, Director Joey Kelly.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Want to do one little housekeeping item here on the, for the director's report, just to provide as much notice as we can. In the past, and I'm talking pre-COVID, the Turnpike Authority at least once a year did a remote board meeting. When we used to have our meetings at the OTA headquarters building, once a year we would try to visit one of the districts that you all represent and usually host a meeting there. That allows the board to maybe drive some roads that you don't typically drive, see a part of the state that you don't typically see, but also provides access to the local communities and other regions of the state, easy access to attend a board meeting and to visit with us, staff, and you as the board being present at a remote board meeting. So we looked at the decade really before COVID. Turnpike Authority been to Lawton several times, Tulsa multiple times, Stroud, Bristow, Antlers one time, and there were some even that I didn't include on my list that have been remote around the state, including I think Bartlesville. Knowing all of that, we're ready to move back to doing a remote board meeting. The other thing, post-COVID, we've been out of COVID for a while, but after we announced a major program and being conscious of the number of items that we were bringing, we didn't want to have any type of surprise in the location of where a board meeting would be. So we're being mindful about what agenda items will be on that board meeting agenda for next month. I'm paying really close attention to that, working with staff to try to plan out exactly what will be on the agenda. But our intention is to hold the May 5th board meeting, same time, different location, and we'll host that in McAllister. We're working with the City of McAllister Chamber of Commerce to have that meeting there on May 5th. So everybody can mark their calendars. We will not be meeting here at the ODOT headquarters. That should be held in McAllister. Eric, did I cover that all pretty good? Good. He's giving me the nod, so okay. Of course, official notice will come out with the meeting invitation in the days prior to the board meeting. All right, one thing that I want to cover immediately following, just within a couple of days of our last board meeting, the state auditor completed a lengthy audit, a very broad audit of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. That came in the way of an investigative audit. So that audit was originally requested by the Attorney General. The state auditor reached out to us pretty quick after that and said, it's going to be a minute. I'm behind on some other audits. They have multiple audits going on all around the state. It was 9 or 10 months before we had the next follow-up meeting, and really for the last 2 years, it's been 3 years ago that it was requested, and really for the last 2 years, they've been working, assigned multiple auditors to it, and have been working really hard on this audit. I've had lots of meetings with our staff. We've provided information, answered tons and tons of questions, and overall, we're very satisfied with the audit. Didn't have any wrongdoing. They verified the process that the OTA goes through to sell bonds. Lots of steps in the bond and issuing bonds. They looked at our cross-pledging and how we've cross-pledged our turnpike bonds in the past and how we use the proceeds from all turnpikes to pay off cross-pledged bonds. They looked at our land acquisition and surplus process. Didn't have any issue with the way that the Turnpike Authority purchases property. All of these following state law. Looked really directly at the relationship between OTA and ODOT because we have so many handshake locations where we share interchanges, share traffic, and oftentimes share projects that are just like LaDan talked about earlier with the city of Norman. When we have a project that's going on close to or abutting a ODOT facility, we have partnership projects where ODOT replaces some panels or updates some guardrail or does a bridge rehab, and we join those projects together, and we do that routinely. Also, the Department of Transportation does perform some services for OTA. They have expertise that we don't have within our ranks, and so we routinely contract with ODOT for some of those things. They looked at other state agencies like the Oklahoma Highway Patrol that we also partner with and contract with, the Department of Public Safety, and didn't find any issues with that. Did have some recommendations with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and we've started to meet to discuss some of those, mainly around updating the contract with the Highway Patrol that's a little bit dated at this point. Another thing they looked at was the Gilcrease Expressway on the west side of Tulsa. That project, as many of you know, when that project came around, it was very unique in how it was funded. And so they took a look at that one, had some questions on it, lots of questions on it. We went through the full process, and they didn't have any findings on it. Looked at surplus property, which I already mentioned. They had a couple of findings, one around how we selected consultants and one having to do with conflict of interest among some of the consultants that we have selected. We have internal controls that manage our any conflict of interest. We take a harder look at contracts where there might be the appearance that one contractor is overseeing itself in another contract. That just doesn't occur. We have internal controls for that. And then the selection process about how we selected consultants was also resulted in a few statements and a few findings. Part of the, some of the statements revolved around that the selections were made solely by the executive director. One of the statements was that there wasn't much evidence that we'd negotiated those contracts. The issue that we had internally was that because this was an investigative audit, the auditor's office did not provide us with a draft or anything to review so that we could try to fill a hole on something that we said, oh no, we have that. We didn't realize that exactly what you're asking for. We didn't get an opportunity at that. So about 15 minutes into the press conference was the first time we were able to pull up the state audit, the audit report. And, reading the audit, there was nothing profound. Some of the comments made were, and that generated some news stories were very aggravating. We've been working with the state auditor's office immediately that evening and over the course of the last month to provide additional information about how selections are made and how Darren, Jeff negotiate task orders, or negotiate consultant fees, issue task orders, and make those selections. The one thing that I want to address, because I took it pretty personal, was that somehow the executive director makes selections, and that was the result of a question that was asked of some of our staff. Does Joe get involved in the selections of consultants? And the answer to that is yes. From my past career, I was chief engineer here at the Turnpike Authority, and sometimes when Trent's been out, when we were transitioning between TJ and Trent, and we've had some reasons that our chief engineer's been unavailable, I happily step into that role, and I've done engineering now in the state of Oklahoma for more than 2 decades. The news reports that came out of that were awful. And so I took personal offense to that. I've had to visit with the auditor lots of times over it, but we've all calmed down a little bit over the course of the last month. But through this process and through visiting with the auditor most recently, we have provided enough information that they're going to revise some of the things in the audit. I haven't gotten to see that yet, but I do anticipate that there'll be a revision that comes out pretty soon. Happy to take any questions on the audit before I leave that subject, since I figure maybe somebody might have one.
I would just comment that I'm happy that there are going to be some revisions because it frustrated probably all of us too.
Yeah, thank you. I want to definitely say, I mean, the audit is good. There was nothing wrong with the audit. If we could have reviewed that a little bit earlier, within a few days, we could have provided some additional backup information that would have mitigated even some of the findings. And we've taken the recommendations very seriously and implemented many of the recommendations already. As a matter of fact, that night we started doing things different after the press conference and after we read the audit. Part of the issue was we just weren't saving enough of the documentation, or we didn't provide it to the auditor when they were asking some of the questions. So,
yeah. And I want to mirror what you said. I'm not discrediting the auditor's office. I think they did a very good job throughout the audit. There's a lot of information processed. It was just the way it was interpreted that was frustrating.
Agreed.
Yeah, well, and I think what Dana's saying, the presentation of it, but as as we all have thought, anytime that you get reviewed, so to speak, you know, there's always things in there that you can take as what I'm going to say constructive criticism, even if it's not necessarily meant that way. And that allows this agency to perform even better than it does, which is obviously to the highest, you know, extreme that we do. But anytime we can tweak things and make them better, ultimately that's good.
We have very high expectations. And we have a bunch of employees that try to represent us really, really well, and they get criticized continuously, and this provided an opportunity for more of that, and it's not something that, it's something that we would have liked to have avoided. You know, that's probably the most frustrating part for me, so.
Well, Joe, you have to focus on too, we have high expectations, and we also have high performance. Let's don't forget that.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for letting me visit about that for just a minute. I will, as soon as I'm made aware of what the changes are, we'll get a red line version that highlights what's been modified on some of the revisions. Don't think it'll be, I'm not anticipating lots of revisions, just maybe a few words that change from none to some, or from some to more, or more than, or something like that, so. Over the course of the last month, we've had a couple of our folks that have that attended the IBTTA Road User Charge Conference that was held in Norfolk, Virginia. And we had two people that gave presentations on that. Just wanted to highlight and recognize them for that. Jordan Perdue presented on a panel about financial tactics for infrastructure. He really talked a lot about the unique partnership for the Gilcrease Expressway West project, and that as unique as that was, there are a lot of states that have unfunded projects and unfunded needs, and so to be able to tell that story about how we got a TIFIA loan and used multiple colors of money to get a project built, we continue to get asked about that. Every time we present on it, somebody reaches out to us and wants a little bit more information, so we're happy to provide that. So I wanted to recognize Jordan for giving that presentation, and also Amanda Bolden, who presented on OTA's data journey now that we've gone completely cashless, and lessons learned. Believe it or not every tolling entity is cashless. And so there are still lots of things that are being learned. There are issues with going cashless, especially when you get to the smaller states that see lots and lots of out-of-state traffic. That changes some dynamic, especially on the northeast and east coast. So we're always looking to share information with other states, and really appreciate her giving the update on the interop with E-ZPass. That is going to be major. 90% of all of our transactions are PIKEPASS or interoperable tag from one of our partnering states. That means only about 10% are from our license plate tolling. If we get this, our tri-protocol readers that we have can read a tag from another state. We just don't know where to send the bill. We don't have a transaction process set up. So we know that about half of all of our plate pay transaction vehicles have a pass in them, and so this step of getting the E-ZPass, and then maybe someday the West Coast, the West Hub gets tied in, this will cut that down to only 5% will be license plate tolling, and that's major for us. Really saves a lot of money on mailing and stamps and all of the things associated with license plate tolling. So really appreciate all the work that Amanda is doing on that. All right, headed toward a kind of a construction update, but we have a very important event this weekend. It's the Boys from Oklahoma concert in Stillwater. And I know lots of people are attending. And so I just wanted to cover a little bit of the traffic situation. And I got some information from the Department of Transportation this morning. But if you're coming from Tulsa, specifically headed toward the Cimarron Turnpike to go to Stillwater, there is a construction project just on the west side of Tulsa, just west of the IDL there on 412, where they have the right-hand lane closed. I visited with Trapper Parks, the field district engineer, this morning, and they are trying to do everything they can to wrap that project up this week and get those lanes open. But there is that's a 6-lane section, 3 lanes each direction. There's a lane closed there just west of Tulsa. We also have a construction project where the Stillwater spur ties into US 177 on the north side of Stillwater. Both directions, it's a one-lane ramp. It's always been a one-lane ramp since it's been built. The bridge is currently typically striped for 2 lanes each way. That single lane is just extended across the bridge, and there's a little bit of a traffic switch there, so people coming from Tulsa headed to Stillwater need to know about that one. You'll be in one lane westbound across that bridge. I also went ahead and visited with Matt Mitchell, the field district engineer for District 4, and asked him about the trip from Oklahoma City to Stillwater. And he said that we've got a project that is, when you're leaving the game, or leaving the game, when you're leaving the concert, if you take Highway 51 out to I-35, I-35 is a double ramp getting on. That project was completed back in 2006. And about 3 miles south of Highway 51, they've got a bridge rehab project going, and it's down to 1 lane there. So leaving the concert, there could be some congestion there on I-35 southbound. Just wanted to make everybody aware of that. If you choose not to take Highway 51 and bypass that area and take State Highway 33, it's also under construction. All of our construction projects are coordinated around the major event season, which starts usually the 1st of September and runs through and into the month of December. So we're trying to get everything done ahead of football season, and the window's not big enough to avoid the concert. So just wanted to provide that little bit of an update. We have work started, work started March 9th on the Canadian River Bridge for the Toby Keith Expressway. It is visible now. You can see the drill shafts are going in. They're doing some pier work, really trying to get the work done around the river and work their way away from the river, because we know the springtime bring rains. Sometimes it's the fall that brings the rain, but the springtime definitely is going to rain, so we're trying to get away from the river and avoid the high water as soon as they can. It's going to be Oklahoma's longest bridge for just a little bit before the Department of Transportation jumps us here in a few years, but as long as we can say it, we're going to keep saying it. The first projects, it's twin bridges, so there's 2 parallel bridges, 2 lanes each direction. It's a $97 million project, and we're expected to complete it in late 2027 to be able to open that to some form of traffic between I-44 and I-35. Let's see. Yeah, and I touched on this, but I want to go ahead and read this note here. The project was designed to minimize the impacts to the Canadian River. This bridge is much, much longer than the bridge that serves I-44 that's just a couple miles to the northwest, and that is to make sure that we don't impact the flow or quality of the river channel. One other thing, we have a very significant ribbon cutting that's coming up in partnership with the Department of Transportation, Lincoln County, and the town of Wellston. If you haven't driven by and seen the push pin that's there, Wellston marks the center point of Route 66 in Oklahoma. And so as part of our project, we've done some aesthetic things both to the bridge, and then worked with the Oklahoma Arts Council and Department of Transportation to do something that's pretty iconic at that location. So the ribbon cutting will be April 23rd at 10 a.m. Everybody in the public is invited. We're anticipating a crowd, and we're just praying for good weather for that day. Hopefully it's not too windy and blowing people's hair out of sorts. But I did notice that some of us have gotten a haircut recently, so that should be much better. Not going to say any names. So the last thing that I want to mention is to talk off of some of the things that Trent presented. April is Work Zone Awareness, or National Work Zone Awareness Month and Work Zone Awareness Week. I would request that anybody who's either here in the room with us or watches this online or hears me say this is to follow us on one of those social media platforms, either the Department of Transportation or the Turnpike Authority, and share the message that we're putting out this month. Share some of these PSAs. That was tremendous that the video that TJ was able to do. Please share that. Bring it up while you're at church or while you're getting asked about things as you move around our state and visit with other community members. Everybody likes to complain about highway construction or a lane being closed, but take that as an opportunity, especially to you as board members or to us as highway work employees. When somebody brings up construction, I always try to tell them how dangerous the situation it is, not just for them driving through it, but for our workers that are working in the work zone. The heavy equipment that they're working around can be dangerous just in itself. It's dangerous work, and so we just need everybody to put down the distractions and pay attention. As we're coming into the warmer weather, this is the time of year where we get where we start pulling the cones out. This is when we can make the most progress, the most daylight to get work done, and so you're going to see more and more construction zones around the state. And I thought that Tom Robbins' Work Zone Safe presentation is awesome. My son had to take the online version of that. He came home, told me about it, said he, put a face to the people who are working behind the cones and in the orange vests. And I just think that that's tremendous. And my opinion, I think everybody ought to have to take that. Just because we got our driver's license a long time ago doesn't mean we shouldn't have to maybe take a revision on what's going on in work zones, because too often we're having some accidents there. So, Mr. Chairman, appreciate everybody sticking with us for a long board meeting today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Anyone have any questions,
Joe,
comments?
I just want to tell you what a great job you're doing. It's amazing as I listen to you, the number of projects we have going across the entire system, the number of new projects we're breaking ground on, and then you augment that with, and we got audited, and you're going to all the communities to educate them, to let them know how we want to cooperate with them. I just think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, Joe, you are. You're doing a really good job. Great leadership of a fine organization and a great group of people. Thank you. I want to thank you very much. I want to give Secretary Gatz the opportunity to make any comments. I know he's a big fan of Work Zone Safety Month, and he may have something else he wants to say. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Great honor for me to be here with the Turnpike Authority Board this morning. Talk just a minute about the Wellston ribbon cutting, if I might. I sit on the United States Route 66 Centennial Commission with representatives from the other 7 Route 66 states. In conjunction with the ribbon cutting, we are hosting the 2nd annual Mother Road Summit here in Oklahoma City. So that we've kind of paired that up with the ribbon cutting at Wellston. We're having a series of events on that Thursday, and then the Friday is the official summit hosted at the History Center. Certainly extend the invitation to any of you to participate in that if you might like to. One significant thing is the administrator of the Federal Highway Administration, one of our primary transportation partners, will be in the state, and he chose to come for not only the summit, but for the ribbon cutting. So he's going to join us in Wellston, and I want to really put an emphasis point on the significance of having him here and having him available to recognize the partnership. And we talk a lot about partnerships, but what the Turnpike Authority has completed, the project there, is a generational investment in Oklahoma's viability for the long term. We couple that with the work that we've done on Route 66 and the vision we have for it for the future. So I think no more appropriate way than to cut the ribbon there that morning, and really it's kind of the old versus meets the new, and really put an emphasis point on that. So that opportunity arose. I appreciate Joe and the cooperation of the Turnpike Authority to really make that happen on that kind of a schedule. I know LaDann and her team were instrumental in that also, but that's going to be a major event. And as Oklahoma runs up to really our official kickoff, which is May the 30th, starts in Tulsa and Oklahoma City on the same day. Just want to make sure the Turnpike Authority Board, has clarity on how important that event is to us at ODOT and is to us as the state of Oklahoma. Also, when you really look at the future. One of the panels that is going to be on Friday is kind of what's the future vision that each state has for Route 66. And, you know, Route 66 itself is woven into the fabric of Oklahoma, but so is the Turnpike, the Turner Turnpike and the Will Rogers, and the service that they provide to the communities that are adjacent. And many of those are Route 66 communities, has been critical to their development. And, you know, I think that's something that is worthy of recognition. I've asked Joe if he's got an opportunity to sit with us on that panel and maybe talk a little bit about how that handshake really has worked and served Oklahoma for the long term. So again, this is just the beginning to a lot of activities that are going to take place across the route. And Oklahoma is absolutely going to put our best foot forward and show the country and capitalize on this opportunity to show what we're about. And we're a transportation hub, always have been and always will be. So that's a, you know, I want to make sure I was clear about the significance of that event. Also with work zone awareness, you know, we always ask for help from the traveling public because that's what it's going to take. When you boil work zone awareness down to its lowest level, the problems that we experience in construction work zones are behavioral in nature. We never need everybody to slow down, put away your distractions, pay attention to what's in front of you, and the bottom line is if we could just get everybody to buckle their seatbelts, we will put a massive dent in our fatalities that we experience here in the state of Oklahoma. We're still a lower tier state, and we have got to get better. It will make a difference, and again, I appreciate the work that the board does and the Turnpike Authority does to help emphasize that message. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? That concludes our items of business this morning. I would ask for a motion for adjournment to our next scheduled meeting of Tuesday, May 5th, 2026.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you, Dana. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended. We're adjourned. Thank you for coming.